Hello again, guys. So now we are proceeding to talk a little bit more about the opportunities in hyper casual gaming. As we can see, there are huge opportunities, and the market is really fast growing. As we can see, all data that are presented in this presentation. Sorry, and there is a very big potential to explore as a further untapped market. So we can also say that success can be very fast. If we put a little attention on these numbers, we can see that our hit maker studios are less than 2 developers, like 50%. Then the average age of studios when they are releasing a hit is less than 2 years. And which is very interesting, the average age of the developers when they are releasing a hit is 25. Newcomers often make similar mistakes, which mean that where is the fast-growing market, there is also a space for failing and making mistakes, which is natural, if I can say. So what are the core points that people are hitting, if I can say? It's that not KPIs are driven so much. So mindset actually it's around that. And in ideation process, there are existing games copycats, and there is also an execution issues. But where, as I said, where is a place for making mistakes, there is also a space for trying to educate ourselves. And this is the very great point to say that the Voodoo Academy, the platform on Voodoo Academy, is actually the very supportive space where you can learn and continuously learn and develop your learning path regarding the creation of a hyper casual games. So you can scan this and sign up right now if you want to check a little bit more on what is actually the Voodoo Academy platform and how you can use it. First, it's a free access to courses that are designed by our world-class experts. Then you can see and find the information about the financial rewards at each major steps completed. And also you can team up with other learners and create the next hot studio. I would like also to use this opportunity and to say that in the first phase, you can go through the introduction. What that means? That this course actually will take you through the basics of hypercasual. And you can also discover all the Unity basics required to start your journey in the hypercasual. Of course, you can also find out everything you need to know about Voodoo tools and how to use them. You can learn how to come up with marketable ideas and how to know which ideas to discard. You can also find out how to take your game through idea to prototype and how to make great videos, what are CPI's do's and what are don'ts. And you can learn also how to decide to iterate or kill fast and move on to a new idea after receiving the test results. Of course, you can also learn how to make effective game art in your hyper casual games. So this will be a short intro about what you can learn, but I will invite you to go through this platform and to see more in detail and just to have the experience around it as well. If you want to access the platform, the experts and tools, the process that you will go through is that you should first complete the Voodoo Academy learning path. Then afterwards, you can use your knowledge and implement in creating the prototypes, and you can start testing it. And also you can get coached and you can get a reward for it. You can keep upgrading your skills by learning and learning and learning with the platform in advanced program. And of course, you can launch and hit your game. And I will use this opportunity to slightly move on to the next phase of the Voodoo Academy. And I will say the very first one, Voodoo Academy and Tami Games, that happened in Novi Sad. And I'm very happy to talk about it because all this process was new for all of us. And we really had a 4 month of a great experience to share and to invite you to, of course, ask whatever you want regarding this process. So first of all, I will use this opportunity to say a little bit more about Tami games as well. So as you can see on this timeline, the Tami slide was actually the first game that Tami Games developed. And before that, Tami Games actually decided to call the first studio, Serbian studio in hypercasual, the Tami Games. Afterwards, they decided to get along with the Voodoo, and they jumped in, if I can say like that, in a cooperation together. So in the end of 2018, they started their cooperation, and there was the first released Volley Beans. After that, we can see it in 2021, there is Slice It All game, then Draw and Break It. And in the beginning of the first quarter of the 2022, it was the first time when Voodoo Academy released Academy with Tami Games here in Novi Sad. And of course, we will see what we will show you with all our results during these years. And about 2023, we will see with all results they're coming. So how we actually started. Our goal was to gain 20 students who will go through this path in maximum 6 teams in Novi Sad. So the condition was to place the Voodoo Academy in Novi Sad. Students were aged 18 to 35 years, and it was also a condition to have a base knowledge in Unity and in Blender as well. Regarding the education, we had a 1 month of learning process and 3 months of prototyping process, where we also had the added values of workshops and mentorship during all the process of 4 months of education cycle and prototyping. And the goal was also to hit the game with these performances that you can see on the screen. How the application process went. So first of all, students had the opportunity to apply, to fill out the application form. Afterwards, we will select the students who were elected, then they will go to the first team interview. Afterwards, they will get the qualification tests in a Unity development and test regarding the 3D artists. Afterwards, we will have the second and final interview where students were elected in teams. After that, they're applying the all Voodoo Academy platform education that we saw in the previous emails. Then they will go through the prototype testing and, of course, trying to launch and hit the game. Regarding this application process, I would like to share with you how the students during this academy represented the process as a one short and sweet prototype. Okay, I hope that you like this process and that it's even a bit clearer more. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, now we are moving on to demographic and application results. During that period of application process, what we figured out is that it were 73% and 27% of male and female interest students. Then we can say that was from 18 to 35 interested students as well, but they were also other ages as well. It was almost 50-50 interested students in Unity developing and 3D artists, and also they applied as a solo and already with a team in almost 50-50%. So that is really giving us a great data. And I would like to mention again that educational background is very interested here. So the students came from Faculty of Technical Sciences in Novi Sad, Academy of Arts in Novi Sad, in Department of Video Game Design, Faculty of Law from University of Belgrade, Agricultural College, High School Mihailo Pupin in Novi Sad, and so on. So basically, I will use this opportunity to say that it was not condition who is coming from what kind of faculty. So everybody are welcome to apply, but who have the base knowledge of Unity and Blender. So it's not necessarily to have a background in these faculties. It's just necessarily to have the goodwill to go through learning path with Voodoo Academy and Tami Games, and to have basic knowledge around it. What we achieved through this learning process. We had 20 students, we had 6 teams located in Novi Sad, and I will mention that few students were coming every day from Belgrade in Novi Sad to attend and to be present from 9 to 6 in our office here in Novi Sad. They were aged from 18 to 35 and went through all education cycle, which mean 1 month of education and 3 months of prototyping. We tested through Voodoo platform 42 prototype. We learned the process from scratch, literally from the beginning of the academy process to the end. And yeah, we had a lot of successful points in that path, but also failing points. But that is what makes us to be better in the next rounds. And we are very motivated about it. And we had a one hot prototype with these metrics that you see. And now in this moment, I would like to invite Andrei Kubik, and I would like to ask Christina if she tried to reach out to Andrei. As I get the message, Andrei is in the participants, so maybe we could reach him out right now.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to ask Andrei to raise his hand. So at the bottom of the screen, there is a raise hand option, and hopefully I can let him, just a sec.
Okay.
Let him speak. And also, I think I fixed the chat option. Things changed in Zoom. Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Lukashin. Things changed a bit since I last did the webinar. So, hi, Andrei. You can unmute now and talk to us a bit.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, awesome.
Oh, cool. Okay, so my name is Andrei, and I was a student / candidate for the first Voodoo Tami Academy. The 2 videos you're looking at right now are the 2 iterations of a game my team and I made, which is called Clean the Park. It is about controlling a cute small robot to collect all garbage from the floor in each level. This is the game for which we spent the most of our development time in the academy, since we were given the opportunity by Voodoo to do a second iteration of this prototype instead of making one prototype from scratch based on the CPI metrics of the initial first test. The initial prototype is pretty much very basic in visuals. As for the mechanics, however, the idea was to make a robot have an excavator bucket to scoop the garbage from the floor and push them like in a garbage press or something, but we ditched that. So we thought that vacuuming the garbage was actually the way to go, since it was way more simple for the gameplay. The main gameplay concept was to collect a certain amount of garbage to get a press garbage stack on your back, which you carry to the dumpster next to the to the dumpster, and spend the money you get from those stacks in the shop next to the dumpster. So after all that we made, we tested the game, and CPI was $0.44 or 44 cents. But besides that, all the metrics were kind of bad. So because of the CPI, we were allowed to make a new iteration. During the development of the second iteration, we learned a couple of new things, and we implemented some of them which fit in the game. Those things like camera movement and animations, new environments, visual robot upgrades, new particles and stuff, made the game much more like fun and looked very. It looked more smooth, so it increased the playtime overall. Unfortunately, later we tried to boost the metrics. They went like they became a bit worse, so we didn't have much time left to spare to iterate more on them. So we put that iteration on hold for maybe near future or something. So when we learn more stuff, we can implement it.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrei. And if I could just ask you a couple of questions since you're here. So what did you base these changes on? Was it direct feedback from the test players, or maybe you did A/B testing, or you said that you changed the camera movement and changed the robot. So what was that based on?
To be honest with you, some of the stuff we made just like came to us, came to mind.
In a dream.
But yeah, sort of. And the others were like pointed out to us by Voodoo project managers we worked with, because our teams were assigned with the project managers, so they kind of helped us out a bit. And that's pretty much it on that.
And how much time total did the team spend on these prototypes for the game?
Sorry, can you repeat?
How much time did the team spend on this particular prototype?
Total time, I think like a month, around a month.
Yeah, awesome. So that's very little. That was my point. So that's why we always like to say that hyper casual games might be a really good first project for people who are just entering the gaming industry, because the pipelines are short, the expenses are a lot lower than other genres in the mobile section of the industry. And also just because it's super interesting, can you tell our audience what was your job before you entered the gaming industry?
My job before I entered the gaming industry, I worked at the butcher shop as a butcher, and that's pretty much it. In my spare time, I started learning programming in C# with Unity, and this is where it got me pretty much.
Awesome, congrats. I rest my case. My point was that really anyone can make up their mind and dedicate a bit to formal and informal training and get to somewhere like this. Thank you, Andrei, so much. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Well, I can talk about a little bit about the overall experience of mine during the academy, if you want.
Awesome, please do. Yeah.
So for the 4 months of the academy, for me personally, was really good. The people were nice, and there wasn't much pressure. There was also Voodoo presentations on their academy site, which were helpful on the topic of ideation and stuff, like what to use, what to avoid, which combined with the help of YouTube tutorials for Unity or modeling software you're using as a 3D artist, is like a great tool for any beginner in a hyper casual industry. And besides all that, the best part of all was that all of us helped each other as much as we could and as much as we knew. So that like boosted our work really much. And I recommend if you like want to get into the industry, I really recommend, if you get a chance for the academy, you should take it.
Awesome. And since we already have a question in the Q&A section, Andrei, can I delegate to you to find a link to the Academy application, or maybe like a source online, and paste it in the chat so everyone can see and maybe get more info or even apply, because we see in the chat as well that Dragomir already applied and he hopes to learn more about hyper casual games. That's awesome. Thank you, Vukashin. There you go. Teamwork.
Yeah, there we go.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrei. It was really nice chatting with you.
Likewise.
Bye, and talk to you, I hope, in person the next time.
Thank you. See you.
So who would like to continue with the presentation? Was it Jada's turn?
No, it's my turn.
No, it's you again. Okay.
Yeah, me again. Yes, thank you so much, Andre, and thank you, Christina. I would like just to add that in this process of the academy, and students also had the opportunity to get to know each other in terms of having workshops to align with each other and to develop that sense of not to have the competition sense, if I'm clear, but to enjoy and sharing the knowledge and to help each other to build up their skills and to try to build up their teams and their ideas as well. So I could say that a lot of students from this academy said that that was something that they saw as a very big value of this process, to just learn from each other and to develop themselves as well, because that is also very important. And I would just like to mention that during this process of the mentorship, along together with the Voodoo platform, Nemanja Divjak, who is actually one of the how to say that, I need a word, I need a help, ko-osnivač na srpskom, a na engleskom mi treba reč.
Founder.
Thank you so much. A co-founder of the Tami Games, together with Vladimir and with Nicola. So all together helped a lot in mentoring the students. So yeah, I just wanted to use this opportunity to say that, because I skipped it from the previous slides. So I will continue right now. Okay, just a second. Okay, now I would invite you to take a look how this process was going. So yeah, now I will put on the video. Enjoy.
Here's your story, let's begin. The water's fine, come on, dive in. The future's here, it's right before your eyes. Step by step, you're on your way. Good to be alive. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Yeah, and times are changing everywhere. Do we dare? It's up to you. The door is open wide. Feel the rhythm of today. Learn the part and join the play. The world is here. Let's take it for a ride. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you're good. Larger, larger than, bigger, bigger than, living hopes and dreams. Every boy and girl, higher, higher than, brighter, brighter than, all you wanted, and you know you could.
Okay, I hope that you like this video and that you could have a little closer look to how actually everything was going on here in our office. I will now proceed to the next one, and I would like to show you how the workshop looked like. Where this particular one was building a prototype, where they needed to go through the process of getting to know close. How is it when you need to get rid of the half of the prototype, in sense to deliver the final process of it in less than 5 minutes. So basically in the ideation process, what is in the practice showed is that you sometimes need to accept that all the ideas that you like maybe are not the best one in terms of market and in terms of the target that you need to hit. So it was very interesting. This is how our open day looked like. So we celebrated the beginning of the academy, and I would like to invite you to see how the closure went. So enjoy in this video as well.
Walk through life. Every day is a new beginning. Shine your light. It's a day and the world is waiting. Move along to the song, singing in your soul. Feel the beat, clap your hands, let's take control. All you need, all you want, are you ready to find your way? 'Cause every day is a new day. And everything's going your way. And you wanna make it last forever. We'll keep it together, 'cause it keeps getting better. Whoa, walk through life and move ahead to your destination. Shine so bright, be the light of a new creation. If the world is a stage, better start the show. 7, 8, 9, 10, ready, set, let's go. Turn it on, turn it up. Are you ready to find your way? 'Cause every day is a new day. And everything's going your way. And you wanna make it last forever. We'll keep it together, 'cause it keeps getting better. Walk through life. Every day is a new beginning.
Thank you so much. And that will be it regarding the Voodoo and Time Games Academy. So I'm free to answer all the questions if you might have regarding these processes. And now I would like to invite Chad. Sorry. Yes, the next part is a new era of hyper casual. So Jada, please, if you can take from now on.
Yeah, super happy. Nice. So basically, the new era of hyper casual. I think that there's a lot of people who is asking themselves, what has happened in the 2021 market? What is happening in 2022? We see a lot of things. We hear a lot of rumors from players coming in the industry, getting out of the industry, but rest assured, Voodoo is still looking at hyper casual. In a second, Jen will cover also the new initiatives that we're taking, but hyper casual is still something pretty interesting. If we move on to the next slide, I think this is pretty interesting because there is this really big trade-off where on one side you have marketability and on the other side you have engagement. And the question is, well, what do you do with this? What do you do with the hyper casual industry? Should you just go for engaging games? Should you just go for marketable games? How are we able to find a successful game nowadays within the hyper casual sphere in order to find something that makes sense? And I do think, and especially what we have been identifying with the team is that, well, indeed, marketability is going to be super important for us in order to find a good game within the hyper casual industry, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not engaging. So if we move on to the next slide, what we actually see is that in order to find a really good hyper casual title that kind of make the bridges between marketability and engagement, ideation is 100% key. Because at the end of the day, it's your idea that is going to dictate whether you have a concept that is strong or not. Well, you're going to ask me, how do I find the right idea? This is the $1 million question. How is my idea going to differentiate myself from what has already been made in the industry. In 2021, we have seen a lot of binary left-right runners. In 2022, we have seen a lot of them, but not as successful. So does this mean that these are dead? Does this mean that they're not marketable anymore? Should I focus on something else? What is the current trend? This is exactly all the questions that you should be asking yourself. And in order to understand if your idea is strong or not, regardless what you're going for, what is very important is that your idea as a whole is making a lot of sense. So for instance, when we're talking about ideation gating, you need to understand that when you're going for one of these key pillars that is presented here, they all need to be linked together. So for instance, if you want to go with a mechanic and say, well, I know that in the past, and it seems that, for instance, cutting games that are using destruction, that are getting slicing, that are using the cutting mechanic, are, for instance, still getting some pretty okay retention, and I think that they seem pretty marketable. So this is the mechanic that I'm going for. What type of player feeling am I looking for with this type of mechanic? You need to have something that makes sense. For instance, with cutting, I think, okay, putting myself in the shoe of a player, what do I do when I cut? What do I feel? Well, I can feel something, for instance, satisfying. So, okay, I have the cutting mechanic, I have a satisfying player feeling that I want to achieve. Well, the question is, okay, what is something that I can cut that is going to be satisfying as a theme that I can use for my game? Because if you tell me, well, you're going to be cutting, for instance, I don't know, constructions, I think it doesn't make sense to just cut bunches of constructions. This is not something that you'll do in real life. You know, take a life and try to hit the building. This is not necessarily going to work out. But what can work out? Fruits, for instance. You know, when you cut them, they're quite satisfying, they're juicy, you can use a splatter, you can use some of these things. So this is why I'm really insisting on the fact that together they need to work as a whole. And you can make this exercise with a lot of different games. And it really actually makes a lot of sense. So for instance, if you want to use the bucket crusher, the mechanic is crushing, and the player feeling, I think, is accumulation, satisfaction. In the video, it's more some frustration, and the theme makes total sense because you are crushing something that can just scatter in small cubes, like a part of the wall. If you were to crush, I don't know, a bicycle, you might not have the same feeling that would be working. So this is why you need these three to have a really strong idea. So once you have found this is when you can say actually yes to an idea and understand how it works out. So when you're trying to find something that is both engaging and marketable, this is also what you always need to have in the back of your head. But if we move on to the next slide, we'll have an overview as the bucket crusher case study to show you how we can still find something very engaging that is very marketable. So what is interesting when you're doing ideation and why it's so key is basically because the developer of this game actually has decided to benchmark completely outside of hyper-casual. Instead of looking at the market and trying to replicate what was there, he wanted to go for something a bit weird, you know, something that felt new, something that we really haven't seen before. And I think that all of you, this is what you want to aim for. You know, when you want to have an idea, maybe you have a look and you're like, oh, what is this? This feels new. This feels cool. This feels fresh. I haven't seen this. Maybe there's something to explore there. And he said, well, I'm just going to look at some different games and I'm going to see what happens if I merge them. Well, here it was really when we try to think about this line I just presented, trying to find, you know, something quite satisfying with this kind of digging mechanic and trying to find a theme that really kind of made it all work. So if we move on to the next slide in order to understand what really worked out here, in terms of marketability, as you can see, there is really this nice ASMR effect. Like, it makes sense. The player feeling is really here. You have this massive destruction and it makes sense with the mechanic. You also have this kind of casino vibe where you have this feeling of accumulation that you're collecting some resource, and you have at the same time frustration and satisfaction. So this is really interesting, and this is something that we have never seen before. And I think that this is also why it's so successful, because in terms of marketability, you do have something that seems that it has not exhausted the market yet, but people are really super eager to play and eager to discover. Bear in mind, we put a trigger warning here to say the separate, like the visuals were a bit separate from the CPI than the actual game. You can still recognize the core gameplay, but we have enhanced a bit this frustration, satisfaction, the feeling that we really wanted to have. So for instance, the arm looks a bit different, the incremental system looks a bit different here, but this is not us changing the gameplay. This is more enhancing what is present in the game in order to really be able to get the audience to understand what the game is about. And when you look at the engagement part, we have seen quite a lot of destruction game working in the past. If we just look at Voodoo titles, there was the game Demolish, hyper realistic, that was extremely satisfying, super popular. There was also Castle Wreck that got really great numbers in the past. But if you think even about Hole.io, the whole concept of Hole.io is about destroying the whole city. And this was a massive, massive hit. So the dev went from a very rational stance by saying, well, destruction seems to be a very engaging mechanic. I'm just going to try to find if there's a new way to make it more marketable. So in this game, what is also quite new is having also this gradual progression with this really nice incremental system that felt also like a new mechanic to see. So if we move on to the next slide to wrap it up, I think that Bucket Crusher is the perfect example. If you look at hyper casual, of how it really makes the bridge between marketability and engagement. And it's not about choosing just engagement or just marketability. In the hyper casual industry, there's still the possibility to try to find, with what we think are really strong concepts, strong cores, something super marketable if the ideas are a little fresh and a little bit what the fuck. And if I finish with like one last reference, I think Rope and Demolish was also one game. It wasn't as popular as Bucket Crusher, but if you look at this game, it feels extremely fresh and it feels extremely new. And the CPA of this game was extremely sticky, and it's handled scale really well because it had this new thing. So my advice to you is, yes, there are still big opportunities within the hyper casual industry. If you want to make hyper casual games, if you're starting in the industry, it's a great place to start, and there are opportunities there, and you don't necessarily need to compromise between finding marketable game or engaging game. You can actually manage to find both by just using some really cool mechanics and trying to find a new way to provide them to the market. And that being said, if you're not interested in hyper casual game, we are also exploring different stuff, because obviously it makes sense to explore what is working currently, and what is also currently working is a hybrid casual sphere that Jan is going to brilliantly present in just a second. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Jada. Maria, maybe I can present my screen, so it
Yeah.
would be also easier for me.
Of course.
Thanks. So I believe you can see my screen now.
Yep.
Let me slideshow. Okay, perfect. So actually today we have the whole funnel here. First, we started with the Voodoo Academy program. So this is how we start to learn to do some games, and hyper casual especially. Then Jada shared the hints how we can do some really successful hyper casual games in this market conditions. And actually I will continue to talk about what are the hyper casual games, how do we see the future here, and what are Voodoo doing to adapt his team and his mindset for the hybrid casual games. So we will complete the whole funnel. So first, what is hybrid casual? How do we define it? Let's start from here. When we segment the games in the mobile gaming sector, actually, we can roughly say 4 or 5 segments that we can have. First one is like the ASMR and simulation games. These are like extremely mesmerizing, really satisfying, but there's no gameplay behind them for most of them. Then we also have hyper casual games. We can also count ASMR and simulation games as hyper casual as well. But the thing that I'm mentioning here about the hyper casual games, the games that you can also find depth in it, the games that you can play 10 days, 15 days without bored. But after few days, after 10, 15 days, let's say, you got bored and you are just killing the game, deleting the game and looking for another game. And this is actually the improvement area of hyper casual games, let's say. And we also have casual games, which you can play for many years, you know, like 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year. You can play Candy Crush for maybe for 10 years without any break. And we also have some mid-core and hardcore games. So here, actually, we see the potential just between those two game groups, game segments. And we say that hybrid casual can be placed just in the middle of it. So by talking about like a bit more professionally, let's say, I created this graph. On the left side, on the y-axis, you can see the CPI, and on the bottom part, on the x-axis, you can see the LTV. So when we define hyper casual games, here you can see like the Johnny Trigger, Helix Jump. We know that these games have low CPI and low LTV as well, even though they are profitable. On the other part of the graph, actually, we see some casual games that we can see here: Clash Royale, Candy Crush, Toon Blast, Toy Blast, or any other word games. These games are actually high LTV and high CPI games. And just again, in the middle of it, there's a huge gap. And we believe that we can just place hybrid casual perfectly, the gap between these two game genres. What could be the hybrid casual games? Actually, Hunter Assassin is a good example for this from many years ago, actually. It's like one of the early games in the market. We have Collect 'em All and Mob Control that I will give you the details a bit later. Match 3D could be a good example for hybrid casual games. Also, Zen Match has like the casual side as well, but we can also count this as a hybrid casual games. So just to understand a bit better about the metrics here, by saying hyper casual games, we were targeting a CPI around like 50 cents, and we are expecting to get an LTV around 70. So this is the range for the hybrid casual game. And for like, sorry. Yeah, and for the casual games, actually, we could say we have a CPI around 15 cents. Of course, this is a range. This could go also up to $30, $40. It's based on your LTV. But we can send ranges around $15, and LTV expectation is around $25 based on the CPI. But for the hybrid casual games, actually, this is also completely new in the market. We could maybe say that the range is around $5. It could be like from 2 to 8, 9, and LTV range is around $7. So this is quite new, and this is the part that we are targeting right now. And when we check, actually now we check the financials, but maybe what about the team size? What about the people who are working on it? We also made a rough estimation about the team size of these game genres. Again, on the left, on the y-axis, you can see the team size, and on the x-axis, you can see the production time, like from ideation to end of the game scale. So like it's the time that we stop working on it, let's put it this way. So for the hyper casual games, we can say that like a team size, 4 people, 2 developer, 1 artist, 1 game designer, level designer. You can like be flexible on the team size, team responsibilities in the team. We can say that 4 people team can build and work on the hyper casual production for 4 months, and after 4 months, they won't be working on the game anymore, because like this is the required time to work and to scale a hyper casual games. But for example, for casual games, team size could be like around 100 people, and it could be also even more, like it could be also like more than 100, 400, 500. We see those companies as well, and they're really successful. And the production time is quite ongoing. For example, like Candy Crush were launched like 2012, if I'm not mistaken, and they're still working on it, and games still performing really good. So the production time could take up to 10 years because it's like a continuous ongoing project. And by hybrid casual games, we actually estimate a time around 4 years. So 4 years of production, 4 years of lifetime for the game. And with a team of 10 people, 10 like 5 developers, 3 artists, it could change, as I said, we could achieve these numbers. So this is also for you to understand what about the team size and how it will be the production cycle of hybrid casual games. So as Voodoo, how do we see hybrid casual and what's our strategy behind it? So basically, we are focusing on two main genres in hybrid casual games. One of them is the puzzle, and one of them is the battlers. So for the puzzle, it could be anything. Like it could be a merge game, it could be a linker game, it could be a match 3. Word games can be also included. But for the battlers part, for example, we are focusing on the shooter games. We are focusing on like tower defense, like strategy games. We are focusing on action games. So these are the main genres that we are targeting. And we also have 2 successful games for these 2 main genres. Collect them all. I will also give you more information about Collect them all soon. But this is a perfect example for a hybrid casual puzzle. Actually, it's like derived from an old game called Two Dots. And this is the perfect example for hybrid casual puzzle. And for the mob control, actually, this also has a bit different story because we launched mob control as a hyper casual game. Then we realized that it has great potential for the hybrid part. Then we started to work on the game and we hybridized the game. And right now it's performing greatly as a hybrid casual game. And like this is also a good example for the battler part. So I will move forward with the revenue again, because like there is significant difference on the monetization of the hyper casual games and the hybrid casual games. On the hyper casual games, the main part to get the maximum profit revenue in the first month, and you try to scale the game as much as possible within the first or second month, and try to keep the maximum spend and try to hit the top charts. But on the hybrid casual games, actually, we have a completely different strategy, because being on the top chart is not that important anymore. The duration is important. How long we can scale this game in a profitable way by increasing the spend. This is how we manage hybrid casual games. Actually, this is just rough numbers on the revenue, no real numbers, but can give you about like the feeling of it. So as I said, like let's focus on Collect them all, because also the way that we hybridize Collect them all is also a good case study for you as well. So as I said, like the game right from Two Dots game, game Two Dots. Actually, we are using a really same mechanic with Two Dots, but there are some twists that we want to highlight. First, on Two Dots, levels are like Two Dots is a bit more level driven. Levels could be a bit harder. And also they don't allow you to work on the diagonal linking. With the biggest innovation, I would say, in the Collect them all, we allow player to do the diagonal linking as well. And it gives more opportunity, more options to the player. And also it gives you you won't be stuck in the level anymore, because you can find a way out when you are also using the diagonal linking. This is one innovation that we have done here. The second one is, I think this one is also quite important. The juiciness in Collect them all is much higher than Two Dots. For example, in Two Dots, the balls are just disappearing, but in Collect them all, there's a huge particle effect. You can see that the destruction of the destroying balls is extremely satisfying, and this gives you and this motivates you to play it a bit more, and because you feel that you rewarded because you played it well. So in puzzle games, actually, in all of the puzzle games, it's really important to give instant reward to the players so they will keep playing it. So another example, actually, that we did on Collect them all, the map, the saga map. Actually, this is a really well-known feature that many casual games are using as well. Like, for example, Toy Blast is using it, Candy Crush is using it, because it gives you a sense of progression. And actually, it gives you a possibility to see the future. So you can scroll down, you can see what will come next. You can see which level will be hard, which level will be easy, and you can see also your progression in a much clearer way. And as I said, it could be also suitable for the social aspect. You can implement your social media account, and you can see your friends level as well. So it gives you both the social competition feeling, and also it gives you a sense of progression. And also it also gives you, okay, I want to play this level because this will be hard and I want to challenge myself. So another reason to challenge yourself, which was extremely useful. And again, we didn't invent this saga map, but this is a nice feature that we can implement and we can see the positive impact on collect them all. And this is what we did. And I think this is the last one, decorating the room, decoration meta. This is a feature that we actually commonly see nowadays in many successful casual games. Royal Match is one example for this, Zen Match is another. These games, actually this decoration feeling is supporting you for the long-term retention, because it gives you first a sense of progression, and also you are free to customize your room as much as you like. And this is also supporting your gameplay. This also gives you a break from the puzzle part, and you can decorate and you can motivate yourself to play more. And I think this is the one of the last features that we added, discovering the mini games in the collect them all. The first thing, mini games, actually every in 7 level, 5 level, 10 level, we know that these mini games are working well because it gives like a break to the players. And if the mini games is really fun like this, because this is also a well working mechanic that we implemented here, we see the positive impact of it. The only thing, the mini game that you wanted to add should be suitable for your gameplay. For example, in Collect Them All, we selected this mini game because again, you can see the ball. Again, the board and the whole shape of the ball is similar. Again, you are linking the ball, but only with different approach, only with from different angle. So that's why it's important to select the right mini game. And one other example of adding mini games, actually, Homescape is also using this a lot. You can also use these mini games in your CPI videos, which could actually bring lower CPI. Again, it's like a perfect break for the players. After 10 level of hard solving puzzle skills, they just need to relax and solve some easy puzzles in a different way. So this is refreshing for them. And you can use these videos for the CPI as well, which means better quality player for the more affordable prices, let's say. I think this is all from my side. Thanks so much for listening. Again, I think we can also do a Q&A session, Christina. Correct me if I'm wrong, but thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Thank you so much. So if you guys have nothing else to add, we can do the Q&A section. Actually, there was a question in chat as well. Are there any indications when the Voodoo Academy will open again in Novi Sad? Christina would like to know.
Hi, everybody again. So I will say that there is a potential start of the new iteration of Voodoo Academy in the beginning of the next year. But I will invite all of you to who is interested to directly contact us, and we will provide you with all information as soon as we get it.
Awesome. And I'm guessing they can also follow Tami Games socials to get an early info. Yeah. So from the Q&A section, Goran is actually developing a hyper casual pattern matching game that he will submit to Voodoo. And the gameplay is inspired by Collect Them All. And he claims it has an innovative GB pattern and mechanics. So his question is, what is trendy in this genre now? Themes, features, things like that. So since we have like publishing managers and senior publishing managers here from Voodoo, I'm guessing Goran can get the best possible answer from them. And also, Goran, if you want to add anything or a follow-up question, please do. So John or Jada?
Yeah, I'd be super happy to actually answer this question. Regarding the trend, I think we did have emphasized this a bit during the presentation. It's really about finding something novel. I mean, we do see less runners as being present in terms of new runners in 2022. When we do our market analysis, we do see some games that are closer to simulation, to destruction, that are feeling novel, and also a couple of puzzles. So I would say it doesn't mean necessarily that you should stay out of runners, but if you want to bring a runner, it needs to be good. It needs to be really innovative. So my advice is for you, if you have a game closer to a bucket crusher mechanic that is using something a bit like around destruction, this is more trendy at the moment. And if I can tell you one advice in terms of CPI of what we see being really trendy, it's actually something realistic. For instance, the runner delivered 3D had visual that were super realist, and this worked really, really well and helped the CPI scale nicely. So I would say if you are looking at making a hyper casual game, going for something closer to reality, realistic visuals would be nice. If you think that this is too challenging for you, as you can see, Bucket Crusher doesn't have something super realistic, but has something really nice and a nice progression. So go into this because it's also super important to know your capacities as a studio. And finally, if you want to go for something a bit weird like simulation, again, this is super art intensive. So I would advise you to do this only if you have some artists. This could also work out. As you see, Fill the Fridge was an absolute success of 2022. I think this can be replicated in different forms.
Awesome, thank you. Again, Goran, if you have a follow-up question, please do. This one can go maybe to John. Miroslav would like to know why publishers have disabled video CTR only testing. Has it become irrelevant or is it about something else?
Okay, like calculating CTR and checking the CTR could be a way, but I personally do not believe it that much because you can only see the performance of the video, but not the game. So, and nowadays in the market, like LTVs are even getting more important. So like the retention is even more important compared to a few years back. So it's not possible to make a hit game only with a low CPI anymore. So we are also willing to see the retention metrics of the game. That's why CTR is not sufficient to see how the game performance, how the real game performance will be. That's why we are mostly focusing on like the CPI tests with a prototype, and also we want to see the playtime and the retention metrics of the game. That's the story behind it. But it's an approach. So it's like you can also do the CTR test. This doesn't mean that this is wrong, but I prefer to see the retention and the playtime of the game first.
I can see that Jada agrees, she's nodding. So this one can go to Maria, since it's about the academy. Is it age limited? Our question here is 43, and he's wondering if he can apply.
Okay, so for this iteration of Voodoo Academy and Tami Games, 2022, it was limited from 18 to 35, but I'm not sure what would be the stricted limitation for the next round. And as I noticed on the Voodoo platform, for online Voodoo Academy, there is no restriction for applying. If I'm correct, yeah, the guys are saying yes, so yeah, he's free to apply online.
Awesome. I think the main restriction here would probably be if you have a full-time job, how much time you can dedicate to the program. Maybe that's why younger people apply as a rule of thumb to title drop the title of our webinar today. Cool, that's good news for a question here. Then Dragomir actually had a very interesting question. What could endanger the hyper-casual game at the moment? Because we see a lot of AR and even meta technologies going forward.
Yeah, I think this is always the thing, with hyper-casual industry. What can endanger it would be the fact that no one wants to play a game that is 100% based on ads, or I think actually what can endanger us is more third parties. So for instance, regulations coming from Apple are coming from the Play Store. What we see in the hyper-casual industry is that the user base that we have is changing. So you won't have necessarily always the same age of people. You will have an audience that is kind of cyclical and that will renew itself. So people ask me, what do you think about the hyper-casual industry? I think Of course, there's the possibility that it can become smaller. If you look at game published in 2020, they were bigger in terms of margins and in terms of downloads that they were making. But current hyper casual titles, the big hits, are still pretty massive. It's still possible to reach more than 10 million downloads. So I don't think that the market of hyper casual is going to disappear. I do think that it can evolve. Again, if you look at titles published in 2018 and titles published nowadays, in terms of execution, in terms of realism, in terms of expectations, we don't have necessarily the same games. Does this mean that we'll continue to evolve into much more complex things? I'm not so sure, because maybe, you know, there's something super viral like Flappy Dunk or Flappy Bird, even if you look at 2013, that can just pop and get a huge amount of virality and kind of have a new audience for hyper casual. So of course it's hard to anticipate what is going to happen, but I don't think that the market is endangered at the moment. I do think that we still have an audience that is renewing itself. I do think that the market is evolving, but if we want to really think about something that could be impactful, it would be external regulations from Apple or the Play Store that would completely ban games with full screen interstitials, for instance.
That's good news for for all of us here, and Dragomir is thanking you for the great answer. Another one for Maria, and maybe for all of you. Christina would like to know, do we need game designers in this area? Are they welcome to enroll to the academy, since it's not a technical position? But, you know, I'm guessing the answer is absolutely, but Maria, you can expand on that.
Absolutely, yes. The main condition, as I already mentioned, is that it's necessary to have a base knowledge regarding the 3D, regarding Blender or Unity. So it doesn't matter if there is just like a game designer or whatever. It's totally fine to apply, and I will support that. Chris, are you there?
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I'm there. My connection is acting up, so I just turned off my video.
Okay.
So Musahan would like to know, are you thinking of hosting Voodoo Academy face-to-face, like in person, in other countries, for example, Turkey and other places? We know there is an online one so far.
Yeah, thanks, Musan, for the question. Actually, we are constantly looking for new opportunities to build more projects like the one that we are doing together with the Maria, and it's going pretty well, as you can see. So of course we are this is in consideration, and we are thinking about it. But unfortunately, I do not have any news that I can share now. But it's like an open question. Why not? It could be possible, but we haven't planned anything yet. But as Christina also reminded, we have an online course that all of you can apply and get the benefit from the online video.
Awesome, thank you for that. And another one for Maria. Srđan would like to know, is knowledge from FTN and in 3D and Unity enough to qualify for the academy?
Actually, on the first interview, when all students are elected, everybody is getting the test, the qualification test, where we can see that basic knowledge. So my answer will be yes, but it is enough. But the most important thing that we are looking on is that test. If you passed it, which is pretty much basic, then you can proceed with the next round of application process. I hope that I answer on the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also saw that handy slide that shows us where the participants came from until now. And it's very like mixed. So I'm guessing everyone can try and hand in an application. So, okay, guys, we're going to stick around for a little longer. So you have time to type in any more questions in the Q&A section or in the chat. If you want to tune in with your audio, you can also raise hand. So maybe some like final words from all of you guys. Jada, maybe you can tell us something about maybe this region. Have you seen any like particular games that you would like to talk about that have been very successful coming from Southeastern Europe and Eastern Europe in general?
Yeah, well, I think this is a pretty interesting question. Of course, all the games from Tummy are so interesting. I would say what I think is interesting is more to tell the audience that there's really this scare and this fear of what is happening with the gaming industry in general. And I think what is also brilliant is with the academy, we are seeing talents coming from your region emerge with great mindset, great art, great spirit. And actually, I see brilliant ideas, not necessarily from super famous titles, but just really bright ideas and people coming with a fresh eye and bringing something new to the industry. And I think that we really enjoy this and we enjoy having newcomers that bring and help us continue to really shape this industry. Because at the end of the day, it's pretty much studios that come up with the best ideas. And really by guiding you guys, by giving you some product tips, by giving you some knowledge, some material, we really see some great things. And I'm really happy to say that within your region, we are able to see some great studios and some great ideas coming.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear. And in the meantime, we got another question. Maybe John can take it. Do you insist, or is it like a gateway to get the game accepted, or anything like that?
So of course, like the lower is the CPI, it's always better. So always try to look for the lower CPI. But nowadays, like we are giving our decisions, like launch decisions based on the data-driven analysis. So we are trying to estimate the LTV of the games. We are trying to estimate how much LTV we could bring in this game in day 3, day 7. Then we are comparing this with CPI, and then we are deciding will it be profitable or not. So CPI is not only the decision maker for launching a game or for making a successful game. One of the key metrics, of course, but it depends on the playtime of the game and it depends on the retention of the game as well. If you have a really strong retention, if you have a really strong playtime, of course you can launch games more than like the 30 cents CPI, and we are also doing it. So 30 cents is a good target that you can always keep in your mind. But if you have like a really strong retention and playtime, of course, more CPI could be launchable and could be really successful as well.
And one more follow-up question about this. Do these like targeted CPIs, LTVs, and retentions differ from region to region? For example, is a different LTV more acceptable in US than in Europe or Asia? Or it doesn't make any difference? I think it would be useful for people here to know.
Okay, so actually US is our target market, I would say, because the revenue, like the profit, most of them comes mainly from US. That's why we are always doing our tests in United States to see what will be the CPI and what will be the retention from the United States players and also the CPI in the United States. That's why the metric that we are discussing always represents the United States metrics, US metrics. So for the other regions, of course, these are different. For example, the CPI in the United States and CPI in Mexico, in Taiwan, in Turkey, these are completely different. But the thresholds, the target metrics always represent US.
Yeah, that
Is
makes
it clear,
sense. Thank
Christina?
you.
I can also answer any follow-up if you have.
Yeah, if there are any follow-up questions, you guys can write it in the chat or the Q&A. So another one came in the meantime. Suleiman would like to know, well, first of all, he's a solo developer. which means he has limited resources, time, and lack of certainty of whether to go for the idea or not for multiple reasons. Do you suggest that what should he do to make sure that his game gets published? And I'm sure all solo developers here are interested in that.
Yeah, of course. I think it's really about the mindset and being able to heal fast. If you are getting too attached to your game, then you're going to want to over iterate on it. And I think that this is the #1 mistake. I don't think it's an issue to be a solo developer. We have published a lot of titles coming from solo developers, but what is really important is the mindset. So make sure that when you are ideating, again, referring back to the presentation, ideation is key. Be confident in your idea. And when you get the results, it's really okay to say, well, I'm going to kill this and I'll just move on to the next thing. Because the more you prototype, the more you learn, the better you become at it. And the more things you can reuse from one project to another. So really for me, it's about being able to move on fast, to repeat and repeat again, and to not be too attached by something, because otherwise it will discourage you and you're going to enter into a negative circle. Well, nothing is going to go right, and you want to go into a happy circle where you keep on learning and everything becomes positive.
Deep stuff and philosophies from Giada for the end of our panel today. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us today and for sharing your expertise and your insights directly from Voodoo, which is great. I also see that there is a lot of interest in the Voodoo Academy, so I'm also very happy about that. Yeah, and another question just came in. Is it necessary to know both Blender and Unity, or does the team consist of different positions that can cover these? Maria, please.
Okay, yes.
No,
it's not necessary to know Blender and Unity together. It's perfectly fine to apply special for Unity or Blender, but it's, of course, that it's welcome to know about each tool and to learn through the process about Unity or Blender. It's open, and it's good that you can actually spread wide your skills regarding it and around it.
Yeah, of course. And since this is an academy, I'm guessing you guys don't expect a whole lot of experience, just a willingness to learn, to be proactive, which is what we always advise our community to do. Even when applying for different positions, like you will never check all of the boxes from the job posting ad. You just need to have a good portfolio, ideas, and apply.
Yes, thank you so much, Christina, for this. I will really encourage all students who are planning to apply just to start with it and to feel free to apply for whatever position, because the point is that learning path, it's not to know everything and to just jump in as a super expert. It's the point to become an expert through this whole cycle, and to spread the whole network around it, and to meet each other and to meet people who are in the network, and just to be in the topic, in the target, in the market and everything, and to build the career around it, because it is very supportive. Yeah.
Which actually brings me to my next point. Before we say goodbye, I will paste an invite in the chat section for our Discord server, so you can have support ready if you have any questions. We have more than, I would say, 1,600 people from the industry on the server. We can help artists, developers, game designers, sound designers. So whatever help you need, or if you just want to show your project, please join us at Discord. I think Maria is there as well, right? So if you have any questions, you can find her there as well. My nickname is Chris SGA on the Discord. Also, you can check out other upcoming SGA programs. I will paste the link for that as well. Sorry, it's misspelled. Sorry about that. So it's sga.rs/programs. programs. We have an upcoming 3-day-long actually game production academy, a 3-day-long soft skills academy, and another soft skills meetup to finish up the year in a strong way. Thank you guys again. Hopefully we meet sometime in person in Belgrade. Thank you again for your time and insights. And that's it for now. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye.